Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I thought I would do a chain project because I haven't done one in a while and I kind of like making chains. So I drew up a little simple kind of triangle based sort of link. And so I'll show you how to make that link and then we'll turn it into a chain. So let's get started. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks that you can get on my merch store. This particular one has information about getting your ring size right when you're making a ring. Some of the other ones have some other useful metalsmithing information like conversion charts or saw blade charts, things like that. What I like about it though is it provides me a place to keep a record of my projects, which has become invaluable to me since I started doing the channel because I make so many different things that I can't always remember how I did it. And so it's nice having a record that I can go back to and check out what I did and how I did it. I filled up like 5 or 6 of these now, but I would recommend getting 1 or 2 because they're really handy to keep a record. I didn't used to keep track of what I made, and I kind of regret that I didn't in the past. They also have this nice dot matrix in the background, which helps me to draw better pictures because I'm not super good at drawing pictures. Okay, so here's what I got going for today. If you've not seen my channel before, I really like making chains, so I like coming up with different designs and putting them together and seeing how they look. I find the repetitiveness of them sort of calming to my brain. So I just drew up something simple here. I'm going to make it out of some 16 gauge wire. This is all recycled wire I'm using from some scrap that I cast into little ingots and then rolled out in my rolling mill. I like to make chains out of that because it feels like you're getting it for free, sort of, even though you're not really. So it's basically going to be, these are 16 gauge round wire, which is 1.3 millimeters. These little bars that will block the link there to keep it from moving too far around. Those are going to be 18 gauge, which is 1 millimeter. And then these linking rings here are 14 gauge round, which is 1.6 millimeters, if I recall. And so I'll be making the triangles, and then I'll put the little bars in, and then I'll make the well, I'll probably do the rings all at once after I got all of the links made. But as far as a clasp, I like to do kind of hidden clasps. So if I can, I try to make it so that the clasp itself looks a lot like one of the links. And so this is my thought here on this one. I'm going to have an opening going in here and an opening there so that you can feed that last loop over it, and it should pretty much stay in place there with that double kind of notch it's got to bypass. So we'll see if we can pull that off and make it look good, but I think these links won't be too terribly hard to do. So this is going to end up being sort of a repetitive project, but sort of an upper beginning project if you've kind of gotten soldering down pretty well. Let's start by making some of these things. And I figured out for size-wise, I'll show you my prototype links. Okay, so here's this one. You'll notice it's probably not perfectly symmetrical. So hopefully as I go, they'll get a little bit better. But so it's basically 36 millimeters, and I cut it into thirds. So I filed a notch in each of those so I could bend it more sharply there, and then file these a little bit flat. I decided on the ends of these, I had them initially kind of pointy, but I think a ring, when you put a ring on here and it's got 2 of these back to back, I think it'll rotate around that better if it's flat. So it kind of stay where I want it to be. So I'm going to try and get the remaining links a little bit more consistent than that one. We'll see. But I'll probably make one of these on camera, and then I'll make the other ones off camera, and then we'll hook them all together at the end. So, and we'll make the clasp as well at the end. So let's get started making one of these. I got this, see, this is some of that wire I was recycling from these little ingots. So let's file it flat. Try and get this a little bit straighter. Okay, so I need a piece that's 36 millimeters long. And then let's make a scratch right through that, right at the 80. That way I can get a pretty precise mark. Hopefully it'll turn out to be exactly 36 millimeters. Let's file that down to that mark. I cut it a little bit outside of it. Let's see where we're at lengthwise. That's pretty right on. So let me file the end of this flat. I'm going to make a second one. That way I can, actually I'll probably make 3, because then when I go to make the rest of them off camera, I'll have a piece that I can just use as a guide to measure. So that'll make it easier than measuring each one. Okay, let's see if I can get marks exactly 12 millimeters in then. Where's my T-pin at? I'm always losing my T-pin. Okay, well let's see if we were close. So a lot of times I like to just use my saw to get it started. If you go against the way the blade's cut, it'll get a little trench started in there, and then it's less likely to chatter around and go somewhere else. You can of course do this on your bench bit if you want. Since I'm just kind of getting a little slight notch, I don't care that much. I usually widen them out using the corner of my bastard file, really. Kind of make it that kind of, well, it's 45 degrees to this, but it's 90 degrees total angle. And then let's bend those over and see how close we are. Before I get too far, I'm going to go ahead and file these inwards just a skosh, this angle. I'm just kind of eyeballing the angles here, so if you want to get really precise, you can get really precise by using a protractor or something. We'll set him to the side and let's do the second one here. Every year it gets harder to see these little things. I'm going to have to change my business name to Squinty's Silversmithing. If you file a little bit too far, this one's really weak because I filed pretty deeply in there. So you can have them break off sometimes, and I did that. That happened on me in the first one. So just keep that in mind. This one is close, but I'm going to get it soldered as quick as I can here. So I do something called pick soldering, where I pick up a little bit of solder on the end of my, this is a titanium soldering pick, and then once I get the metal to the right temperature, you just touch it to it. It's a really useful technique for getting solder where you want it to go. And if you're interested, I have a pretty good video about it up there. You want to check that out. It's one of those kind of key skills that made a lot of stuff possible for me that I wouldn't have been able to do very easily as a beginner. It also really makes you think about how you're using the torch and the temperature and where you're pointing the heat at and all that stuff, which is kind of important to be getting to understand if you want to be really good at soldering. So even if you ended up not using pick soldering that much, just learning how to do it will teach you something besides that, just how to. Kind of the same way, one of the things that really helped me to learn some important lessons about the way silver reacts with heat was trying to solder something very small to something really massive. That teaches you kind of what's really going on with the solder. I don't think I got this corner very well. I think that one's a little more consistent than my first one. So let's solder those two together, then we'll add those little pieces of wire. Alright, so now I'm just going to file the ends a little bit flatter. If you want to get really precise, you can use your My Device jig to get a nice flat end. So let me find a little 18 gauge round. There's some right there. So really we need two pieces. Let's cut this. You can use this kind of as a guide to where to cut it. I knew it. T-pin's gone. It's like how socks disappear in the laundry. And then I'll look back again and it'll be right there. Needs to be a bit shorter. That looks a little further out than this one, but take it just a little bit down further. That's pretty good. That looks pretty good. Let's solder those in, if we can. Trying to make it parallel with the central bar. That way it'll look relatively straight. You know what? I'm just going to do one at a time. Why complicate things unnecessarily, right? One less thing moving around when you bump something. I bumped it anyway. Whoops. Sometimes things just go south. Well, that wasn't as smooth as I would have hoped. It was because I jumped the gun on the solder on the first one and it went a little bit crooked. That one went a little more smooth. Okay, so those are going to be kind of like that. And go all the way around the arm. So I don't know how many of those I'm going to need to make. Maybe 5 more. We'll have to see. I'll compare it to one of my other chains that I've made in the past to get kind of a rough idea. And somewhere in there we're going to also make a clasp. And for these rings that I made to go between them, like this, I may elongate those after I solder them on, just so they have a different look. I kind of like that. But the way that I'm going to make those is just with some bail making pliers. I use the second biggest little cylinder on this thing, and I'll just spiral off a bunch of loops on this one. And we'll go with that size. It ended up being about a 10 millimeter loop. So I will be back after I make some more links, and we'll make a clasp and put these all together. Please disregard my mess. So I hooked 2 of these together, and I used one of the little rings that I wrapped around the bail making pliers, and I elongated it, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute after we solder the next one on. But I'm using some easy paste solder, so we'll just kind of link these all together as we go. If you want to use all one type of solder, you can actually cover up, use something to cover up the rest of it while you solder that link. Just because I'm getting soft and spoiled, I'm going to use some easy solder. Don't tell anybody, okay? Turned out okay. So to stretch these rings out into an oval, I'm going to use these things. I don't remember what these are called, but they're handy. So I'm just going to put the solder joint on the long side, stretch it out a little bit. Also find out if you did a good job on your solder joint at this stage. Okay, so I think I'm going to turn this one into the clasp. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to saw a little part out right here and a little part out right there. So let's go do that. I might even be able to saw this part way through and then just bend that one in a little bit. Kind of like that's what I was thinking. So let's see how that holds up. Alright, let's close this one up. This is the clasp one. And then I'll have to put a ring on the other side too that will connect to the clasp actually. So let's get this one soldered off. Something I haven't mentioned yet, but if you're new to this and you're tempted to polish this on a polishing wheel, it takes a little bit of practice to get good at polishing stuff on a wheel. It's really dangerous when you have something that with lots of loose ends flopping around. So I would recommend, until you have some more experience if you're a beginner, either tumble this, I know it doesn't give a great polish, or have somebody else polish it for you who's got a little bit more experience, so you don't hurt yourself. Chains just have a tendency to swing and get caught by the wheel, so it can be a little bit on the dangerous side. I didn't really need to flux with this stuff. Just force a habit. After I pickle this, I'm going to flatten this one just a little bit to make it slightly stiffer so it stays in place. But overall that clasp works just fine. The pop on there. And then you got a continuous bracelet, it's hard to find the clasp. Alright, well I'm going to let that pickle for a while and then we'll get it all polished up. I'll show you the final result. Alright, so I got things kind of polished up. Again, be careful if you're polishing chains because they're a little bit dangerous sometimes if they get caught around the wheel. So this, I decided not to flatten it because I didn't want it to look too much different, but that's how the little clasp works, like that. And it's take a little bit of work to have it come off, so if this gets loose at all, you can always just bend it down a little bit. But I think that should be a pretty effective clasp. So tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your ideas for variations. I like the geometric nature of this one, I think. I like geometric things in general, so I'd love to hear your comments, so let me know what you think. Okay, well, if you enjoyed that video or got something useful from it, it would help me a great deal if you'd hit the like button before you go. I'd also really like it if you'd visit my main channel page on YouTube here. I have well over 660 videos now. I do 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday. And so there's a constant stream of new information and content coming out. If you're new to metalsmithing, this may be a good resource for you. So maybe consider subscribing to my channel. It doesn't cost anything, and it makes it much easier to find my content, and you're helping me out. So it's a win-win for everybody. I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. They not only provide me with lovely financial help, they are themselves lovely people, and I do appreciate all of the kindness they've shown me, and I want to thank them for creating such a nice environment on my Patreon. It's a lovely community of people who are interested in helping each other out. So thanks for making it that way. You guys are awesome. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 29,700, I think. So we're creeping towards 30,000. So if you know anybody else who might be interested in my channel, let's push it over that. But I digress. I wanted to thank you all for creating such a nice YouTube channel, because it's not just me, it's all of the nice people commenting in the comment section, and the people who offer input and good ideas for me. I really appreciate that, and I try to answer all my comments too. So I really do appreciate you making it such a nice kind of learning environment. That's kind of what I'd hoped for. Thank you also for the kind contributions, the buy me a coffee, the super thanks, buying things on my shop or my ebooks. All of that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I could not do this without your help, so thank you for that. The video description down below has information about this video, but it also has some links. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out a little bit about that community. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself some cool metalsmithing related stuff like those design idea sketchbooks I showed you at the beginning. There's other stuff there too, so check out some of the cool things. Finally, there's a link to my newest ebook, which is a guide to 2025's tutorials. I did over 170, and in the ebook there's a page for each of those videos with a link to the video, a picture of the sketch that I drew prior to making the project, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials it takes to make that project, stone information if there's a stone in it, a difficulty rating, and finally, some notes I took about the project, things I might have done differently if I was to approach it again, or what did I learn from the project, or did I think the outcome was good or not, and why. So information that might help you to do a better piece than I did. So it's a nice way to have a whole bunch of projects at your fingertips, and a really nice way to support my channel. Thanks in advance if you do that. You can even get all 3 years I did it for a discount if you go to the merch store and look for the 3-book link. I think you get $15 off if you buy all 3 together, so check it out. Alright, well, thanks for watching my video. Take care. Happy silversmithing.